A guest on our show recently described it as the Russian shadow over Eastern Europe. And what did he mean by that? Well, we saw another manifestation of it today. It was the joint military drills by the armies of Russia and Belarus. You could call them the rehearsals for a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. How do you counter such a threat? What options are available with the West? We'll discuss all of this and more in the next few minutes. Hello and welcome, it's me. Now first, a quick recap of what we're talking about. In case you've been following the news, you know there is a build-up of Russian troops near the Ukrainian border. Now let's rewind a bit. This is not the first time Russia has amassed troops near its borders. Every year in the month of November, December, something similar happens. Every year, Russia conducts military drills near the Ukrainian border. Every year, NATO countries get all worked up about it, and every year things end without a hitch. So why is this time any different? Why should we be worried now? Because of the shadow. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm talking about the fact that Russia has bases all over Eastern Europe. I'm talking about the Russian land bridge in Kaliningrad, their naval presence in Crimea, and their close ties with Belarus. All of these act as a Russian shadow over Eastern Europe. And today, that shadow fell on Belarus. We saw Russian soldiers entering Belarus. They were welcomed by their Belarusian counterparts. Together, they conducted military exercises. How should the world view this development? As a solo act by Russia or as a coordinated move with Belarus? Well, here's what we know. Russia has two military bases in Belarus. One is near the capital city of Minsk. The other one is in the city of Ocean. Both are home to Russian nuclear warheads. Then we have the issue of the Suwalki corridor. It connects the two Baltic nations of Lithuania and Latvia. Basically, it's a land bridge. It's just 65 kilometers long, but it's very, very important because it links the Baltic states to the rest of Europe. If Russia controls this corridor, then the Baltic states could be cut off from NATO. And how can Russia do that? By operating from its base in Kaliningrad. That's what we call the Kaliningrad militarization. It's a Russian exclave. It sits between Lithuania and Poland, right on the Baltic Sea. Today, it's home to Russia's Baltic fleet, including nuclear-powered submarines. It also houses Russia's most modern air defense systems. In effect, it's a mini-military hub for Russia. It gives them an opening into the Baltic Sea. It allows them to project power in the region and keep a close eye on the Baltic states. Then we have the example of Ukraine. Moscow already has a strong foothold in the country. Let me show you some more data. Around 8,000 people live in eastern Ukraine. Most of them are ethnic Russians. They've been given Russian passports. In effect, they're a fifth column for Russia inside Ukraine. And if that wasn't enough, we also have the autonomous region of Crimea. It was a part of Ukraine. Russia took it over in 2014. Since then, Crimea has become a semi-military zone. There are Russian troops everywhere. There are military bases and firing ranges. And don't forget the Black Sea Fleet of Russia. It's stationed in Sevastopol. It's a major naval base for Moscow. In effect, the entire southern coast of Ukraine is controlled by Russia. So coming back to the question, what is the West doing about this shadow? Well, the US has imposed sanctions on Belarus. It's targeting individuals and entities linked to the Belarusian military. The aim is to dissuade Minsk from further cooperation with Moscow. But will it work? Remember, Belarus is heavily dependent on Russia economically and strategically. Also, both countries have close family ties. So the threat of Western sanctions may not be enough to deter Belarus. What about diplomatic efforts? Well, talks between Russia and Western nations are underway. The US has dispatched a high-level delegation to Kiev. A top American diplomat is expected to visit Moscow, but will these talks end up like the ones last year? Remember, diplomacy did not work in 2021. Russia kept moving troops near the Ukrainian border. In October, things came to a head. Russia refused to pull back its troops. So the West lost valuable time. And this time, they want to be prepared. But you see, preparing for someone else's war is not your cup of tea, and that's exactly what the West is trying to do. Yes, there is a need to help Ukraine to stand up to Russian aggression, but not at the expense of escalation. If Western troops enter Ukraine, then there's a high chance of a wider conflict. That means a direct confrontation between NATO and Russia. And no one wants that. So the West is left with only two options. One is to support Ukraine diplomatically and economically. The second is to up the ante with more sanctions. Neither option is ideal. For more than 3 decades, we've seen Russia as the biggest threat to Europe. First, it was the Warsaw Pact, then it was the threat of nukes, then it was NATO expansion. Now it's this hybrid war in Ukraine. But remember, this shadow over Eastern Europe is not new. It's been there since the end of the Cold War. The only difference is that now it's more brazen, more aggressive, and frankly, it makes sense. Why wouldn't it? After all, this is the 21st century. Power is measured in hard facts, military deployments, and aggressive foreign policy. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this.